Hello traders, Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com, December 19th, 2021. In this edition of your weekend video newsletter, we'll discuss the weakness that led into last week's OPEX, with many stocks oversold and at extremes. We come into this week with 9 neutral indicators, 9 bearish indicators, and only 2 bullish. That said, the large amount of negative put gamma that expired on Friday could lead to a short covering rally into Christmas. S&P 500 support at 45.50, SPY 455, and the Qs at 380. Resistance 4700, 470, and the Qs at 400. Gamma flips, of course, at 4600. So long as the S&P 500 stays above 4695, the spiders above 464, we should be good for a Christmas rally. That, of course, assumes that dealers will be left with less long delta to hedge against coming into this week, which opens up a window which will support some of the most beaten down stocks going into the end of the year. The main theme this week will be how do dealers re-hedge going into the holidays. With all of this OPEX on Friday, we're looking for a short covering rally with the S&P 500 just off of a 3% drawdown from recent all-time highs. We still have a bearish divergence in RSI. We did have another distribution day on Friday. MACD is flat below its signal line, and we have stochastics rolling over as well. In addition, the S&P Equal Weight Index closed below its 50-day moving average, with the number of stocks trading above their 50-day backing off to a lower percentage. We currently have nearly 50% above the 50-day, 50% below, with a backdrop of the S&P 1500 composite also showing a bullish to neutral signal above its red line, with histogram above 0 and price action in a sideways range, with a large portion of those 1,500 stocks in growth and value. We did see the Qs back down to a support level where we bounced previously around 380, so we're looking for a little pushback above the 50-day, hopefully this week. MACD, however, does show a bearish trend. So we're looking for dealer repositioning this week to give us an idea if we can see a Vanna-induced or short covering rally going into the holidays with that major gamma support level at 380. Going into year end, we're also faced with a failed breakout on the small cap Russell 2000, currently trading near the lows of its 11-month range, with most oscillators and relative strength moving lower. So it's with that in mind that we will enter this week with a bit of caution, looking for these extremes to get bought, as several reliable sources suggest after last week's major OPEX. Finally, going into year end, we're left with the idea that a broad measure of market participation in the Wilshire 5000 is showing indications that stocks are being bought. We did notice in the opening monologue that there were many stocks that were oversold and turning, many of them set up and looking for a bullish trend to develop going into year end. So make sure you check these out as well, as the cycle clearly shows that there's underlying strength with the momentum beginning to shift, as you can see in the lower panel. Bottom line, there is more strength than the major indices currently exhibit going into the Christmas holiday. The bond stock ratio currently is neutral. If we began to head towards the 65 period moving average, that would be bearish. Look for this to continue to move sideways to slightly higher. Bonds are appreciating a bit as institutions continue to park assets the 7, 10, and 20-year durations. with most in a sideways range for the last week and a half. Slightly bullish on the 50-day, turning higher now. Stochastics rising and MACD about to turn. Junk bonds and high yield corporate are also an area we need to focus on if we want to see what risk appetite bond traders have. In this case, high yield junk bonds are neutral to slightly bullish. We do have our indicators IBB, the biotechs, pushing higher. That's bullish. IWM is trying to bounce, of course. We do have USO pulling back a bit more last week, along with Bitcoin, in addition to advanced decline, which give us 3 out of 6 neutral to bullish, a neutral signal overall. Yet another reason to be cautious going into the last 2 weeks of 2021. We also saw the US dollar strengthen on Friday, pushing a bit higher back into its 4-week range, which put pressure on international markets as the local currency is sold to buy US dollar-based assets. That puts pressure on these international ETFs, as you can see. Most of them turned down last week. Turkey fared the worst. We also had no signal from the carry trade US dollar Japanese yen pair. That's in a range that we've seen for the last 12 weeks and neutral. Dollar strength and macro conditions also had a bearish impact on crude oil. That produced a lower high on this weekly chart going into OPEX on Friday. Given the positive correlation to the S&P 500, we'd like to see crude oil move a bit higher. And as we follow trends in crude oil, we're also watching gold, which did push higher above its 50-day. I'll probably add to my positions in gold-related assets going into year-end if this trend develops and starts to move higher. Given the CRB index and commodities in general bouncing off of the moving averages, looking for a follow-through into year-end. This week, we're starting off with strength in healthcare, consumer staples, utilities, and real estate. Also looking for a bounce in consumer discretionary, energy, and tech stocks, together with the possibility of some of these international ETFs bouncing if we do see the dollar pull back a bit. If you are trading this week, I'd look for strength to continue. We also had IBB, the biotechs, looking very strong. We had metals and mining also doing well. So those are sectors that we'd look for continuation in addition to real estate, staples, utilities, and healthcare for these last 2 weeks of 2021. Some stocks that were sold quite hard last week are sitting right above support. Apple is at the 21-day. We're watching for any kind of indication that buyers will show up with the anticipation that we'll pull back to the 21-day and then perhaps bounce Monday, Tuesday. With many of the pharmaceutical stocks looking good last week, we were looking for a follow-through. After pushing above the 200-day, we anticipated that we would see Bristol Myers stop right at the 200-day, taking some profits off on Thursday, but still very bullish. FedEx did have a bounce on earnings last week. We're looking for a follow-through in FedEx and UPS. Watch for a bullish setup this week. Volume was above average on Friday, with RSI pointing higher. We also saw a lot of stocks like Global Payments with a higher low, looking for a push above the 21-day. These could be nice swings going into year-end and the first quarter. If these continue, look for a push into the Kirby over here on the left. If we break out above that 132.25 level this week, look for a test of the 50-day and then a follow-through. These look really good. Volume coming in over the last couple of weeks. Whole Logic also looking for a follow-through to complete this right side of this cup pattern. MACD's above its signal line, stochastics rising, RSI above 50. IDEX, another example similar to Global Payments, different sector, but it's producing higher lows. Volume came in on Friday, looking for a push above the 50-day and perhaps building the right side of a cup pattern. If you check out the weekly time frame with a descending channel and a potential trend break over the next few weeks, keep an eye on IDEX Laboratories in the veterinary sciences industry group. As previously mentioned, we're also looking for some of those growth stocks that got beat up last week to bounce. Facebook is sitting right on the 50-day moving average. Any indication of buying would be interested in a push back towards the 353 zone and then into an area of less overhead supply if this does in fact start to trend higher this week. So keep an eye on Facebook. RSI is at 50, MACD is above its signal line, and stochastics is embedded above 80. Salesforce at a potential bottom, looking for a push higher this week. A lot of things have to set up, but this is a well-known name that institutions like to accumulate on dips, so keep an eye on this one. Zodis also showing relative strength. This stock with above average volume over the last couple of weeks shows potential for institutions to accumulate shares here. The company develops animal health medicines and vaccines with a focus on livestock and companion animals. Another reason we like IDEX, as previously mentioned, this is in the veterinary sciences industry group, looking for a push off of the longer term moving averages and a push higher on above average volume. We also note that the IBD 50 had quite a few stocks that were following through last week, showing relative strength when the markets were pulling back, with many of them showing oversold stochastics, looking for a bounce. If we see any kind of strength in semiconductors, AMD is sitting right on the 50-day moving average. Healthcare stocks, AMN, that looks good as well, trying to push higher, above average volume on Friday, stochastics rising. ANET, Arista Networks, showed up on many scans this weekend, looking for a follow-through, a push off the 21-day. Commercial metals, haven't seen this one on the IBD 50 for a while, pushing higher, stochastics rising. Look at the volume the last week. Relative strength in the metals and mining group, Freeport McMoran, Rio Tinto, Vale, VMC, BHP, all of them moving higher. Real estate stocks like CubeSmart also pushing higher out of a range. RSI is rising, stochastics pushing higher. This stock is a REIT with ownership, operation, and development of self-storage facilities in the United States. Big cup with an extended range as a handle. A break above that 5664 zone would be a buy signal. Relative strength line is climbing. Edwards Life Sciences also looking for a breakout. Healthcare related stock with above average volume on Friday. Like CubeSmart, another one, extra space storage, breaking out, showing relative strength, following through. Harmony Biosciences, this one looks strong. Looks like it's going to follow through. Once it gets above these volume by price bands, look for a breakout to 52-week highs. RSI is pointing the way. Volume picked up last week. MACD and stochastics rising. A really nice setup going into Monday trading. Along with pharmaceutical stocks like Bristol Myers Squibb strength, we're looking for Pfizer to continue higher, and many stocks from the healthcare group. Watch for Pfizer, looking for a follow-through. Silicon Motion with the potential for a nice breakout. Little cup handle, looking for a push above 92. RSI noting strength of trend and volume increasing over the last couple of weeks. Trade Desk and Trade Web, both of them look pretty good. Bouncing at the 50-day moving average, looking for a follow-through. Stochastics oversold in both cases. TRUP also looking pretty interesting. With the pullback to the 50-day getting bought, RSI is turning higher. Look for above average volume to continue. And for stochastics and MACD to support price action and continue higher and follow through this week. Shipping stocks also looked pretty good last week. Looking for Zim integrated shipping services to bounce off the 50-day. We're looking for this volume to continue that we saw on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. MACD and stochastics to continue their path higher. RSI is back above 50 and looking for price action to get back up to 52-week highs. Okay, traders, that's going to do it for me. This is Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com with your weekend video newsletter for December 19th, 2021. make sure you check out these stocks that we scanned through. Bullish setups, looking for a follow through this week. In addition to the stocks we've already covered, I'll send out a watch list later tonight around 11:30, 12 o'clock on the East Coast, around 8:30 to 9 o'clock on the West Coast. So be sure to check for that in your inbox. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. Remember, this is a holiday shortened week. We do have half a day on Friday in observance of Christmas. Take care. We'll see you in the morning. Ciao.